Mic check. Welcome back to another episode of the Second Half Podcast. I'm your host, Jabari Saunders. Before we get started, hit that like, follow, subscribe on all social media channels. Oh, yeah, hit that link, grab some merch. You know, we got the hoodies. Although it's about to be spring and summertime, but we got the tees and everything else on the way. Be sure to grab that. Even before we get that, not to start on a somber note, we got to give a big shout out to the family and friends of Oliver Miller, who just recently passed, the big fella in the NBA. Not only him, but you also had Junior Bridgman, the first, I won't say the first billionaire because there's been multiple, but he's done some incredible things, played for the Milwaukee Bucks, friends with Dr. Lloyd Walton, teammates, all of those great things. So just got to give a big shout out to them because those are true pioneers who really crafted the NBA and the league, so showing them some love. Without further ado, we got to jump right into the second half. I'm excited for this one. Of course, first round draft pick right out of the crib. You already know we're going to get into that. None other than my man, Stephen Hunter. Stephen, man, appreciate you jumping on the podcast, man.
What's up, Bart? Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir, bro. So let's go ahead and start it off, man. Like, where you from, man?
Well, I grew up on the west side of Chicago, born in Cook County Hospital. Around sixth grade, my parents moved out to Maywood, and that's when I attended Garfield Elementary.
Okay. Shout out to Garfield Elementary.
Yeah, so shout out to Garfield. Then on from there, that's pretty much where I spent, the second half of my childhood. Then after that, I went to Proviso East, and then, everything's up from there.
Yeah, man, it's funny you bring that up, starting off, but before we even get to Proviso East, who was the one that essentially put the basketball in your hand to say, hey, man, this is what you need to be doing?
Man, honestly, my older brother, man. My older brother, Eric, I used to follow him around. He's about 6 years older than me. So I used to just follow him around. We used to go to play at the Golden Dome by Garfield Park and play at different Emerson Park, things like that. I was just a shorty, but I was just, I just wanted to be around him and just be around his friends. So I ended up playing with teenagers by the time I was, around 9 years old. So just following my big brother around. I'm the youngest boy of three other brothers. And obviously they used to always pick on me all the time and push me around.
You up, I already know.
Right. Yeah, so all my brothers around, 6'5", 6'4", 6'6". I'm the youngest boy, and I ended up being the tallest at 7 foot. So,
I'm about to say, when did you hit that growth spurt? Because you don't see too many 7-footers just walking around on the west side of Chicago like that.
Yeah. Well, by the time I got to 8th grade, I remember I kept a journal. By the time I got to 8th grade, I was like 6'4". And then after that, I just grew 2 inches every year. So my freshman year, I ended up going to Weber. I was about 6'6", and then sophomore year, I went to Proviso East, 6'8", and then junior year around 6'9", 6'10", senior year 6'11", and then I stopped growing my freshman year at DePaul, grew to 7 foot. So,
man, that's crazy. So you jumped a little bit ahead, but it's all good, man. I love it. Your time over there at Proviso East, it's such a storied and incredible high school. You got guys like Doc Rivers who played there, Mike Finley, you had Shannon Brown, Sterling Brown. Of course, they came after. Of course, one person who was even talking about you a little bit in his episode of the podcast, he talked about, I'm going to play with this school over here in Proviso. They got a 7-footer over there, of course, and he's number one draft pick.
Yeah, for sure.
How'd you end up, obviously that was in your path, but just tell me a little bit about your experience there, playing at with such a historic and historied high school.
Man, honestly, so when I first moved to Maywood, and I started playing ball at Garfield and playing at Waterworks and all the parks and the Maywood Rec and all the parks in Maywood, and shout out to Maywood Park District, especially back in the 90s. We had one of the best park districts in the state, and I think that's why a lot of great basketball players come out of Maywood because of the Maywood Park District. So growing up in the 90s, that was very, very important to have those outlets to play ball at. But, getting back to Proviso East, I met this family called the Washingtons, right? And one of my good buddies, his name is Jerome Washington. Shout out to Jerome. Jerome is the little cousin of Sherrill Ford.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so his uncle Gino used to watch me play at the parks and stuff like that, and he was like, "Man, you kind of remind me of my little cousin Sherelle. He was a star player at Proviso East,
Yep.
and so I used to just be around them, and we used to watch film on Sherelle. And Sherelle, he was just like my idol growing up in terms of being from Maywood and like the things that he can do on the basketball floor. And I actually ended up taking my number after Sherelle, number
Okay.
45. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So shout out to Sherelle Ford, man. It's a Proviso East legend.
Yeah.
We had some great teams in the early 90s that won back-to-back state titles. So I ended up linking up with Sherelle Ford's family, and then that's how I got my involvement with Proviso East.
I got you. Yeah. Sherelle
Yeah,
Ford. I mean, who was it? Donnie Boyce, all of them. Like,
yeah,
y'all had just a strong connection of just basketball, and y'all was just killing. Year
yeah.
after year, y'all always had stars that were coming through, D1 athletes, just guys who could just hoop. And the city, the crib is, that's what it's about. Show
Yeah,
up.
we
So,
did, man. And going to them Proviso East games back in the mid '90s, it was like going to one of the Bulls games, bro. It was packed.
absolutely.
Like
Pack gym.
everybody was there, man. So I always knew, like, man, one day I want to play at Proviso East. And so, that's what ended up just fueling all that and just the rich tradition of Proviso East. So that was super, super fun, bro.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
tell me this. Of course, Proviso East, y'all were huge. Did you end up playing any AAU ball during that time at all,
Yeah.
or did you kind of stay
So
away from it?
Yeah, so around seventh grade, I was playing for the Oak Park YMCA. One of my
Okay.
buddies Brandon, he brought me up there. Shout out to Brandon Cole, the late Brandon Cole. And so while I was playing for the YMCA, my buddy Ogun and Pete from the Oak Park Sonics, they saw this tall, lanky kid running around, had pretty good coordination for his height. So they invited me to play for the Oak Park Sonics. So the Oak Park Sonics was my first club team. And then
Okay.
moving from there, then I ended up getting noticed by a man by the name of Terry Head, right? From Chicago.
Yep.
Chicago Heat.
Chicago legend, Coach
Yeah,
Head. Yep.
yeah. So T Head pretty much raised me, man. Like T Head, he put that dog in all of us, bro. And it wasn't always pretty. Like we used to get hit in the chest. We had to do push-ups. You know what I'm saying? It was just no nonsense. So T Head really kind of molded, who I was as a player at a young age. And then from then on, I kind of graduated to the Illinois Fire, playing for Mac Urban, the Mac Urban Fire.
Okay.
Yeah, some
Nice.
of the teammates was Amari Sawyer, Leon Smith, uh, Brandon, who else? Yeah, Rio Logan on our squad. We had a good
Yeah.
squad. We had a good squad. We traveled nationally.
Y'all had some guys. I mean,
Yeah.
who Rio? He ended up going to where? Miami. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? I mean, y'all had the Fire, Nick,
Yeah.
Mac, everybody. They had y'all going for
Yeah.
sure. They had
Yeah.
y'all going. I mean, Rio 6'10", you over there 6'11" as well. At that, you know what I'm saying, going in. So
Man,
y'all
our starting
definitely
lineup was 3 7-footers. So Rio played the three. He was 6'10". I was about 6'11", 7 foot. I played power forward, and then Leon was 7 foot. He played center. Then we had Amari.
crazy.
We had Amari at point, and then we'll put somebody like Marquis Perry. He played like the two. So it was just live city, bro. We was going around the
I'm
country.
about to say y'all was the original Live City.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a brick. We had a brick. It was good times.
Yeah. Did you guys end up winning any national tournaments, anything like that?
Yeah, we won a few. We won a few. We just traveled, and the main thing was just the exposure of it all.
Yeah.
Everybody getting exposure. We ended up going to Adidas camp, ABCD camp at the time together, and really just traveling across the country, seeing things we never seen before, and just playing against the top talent, around the country. I think it kind of helped everybody. So,
Yeah.
even locally, we would have rivalries or whatever between me and Leon, maybe Rio. But man, like honestly, a lot of people don't know. Like Leon's my brother. We used to pick him up from, um, the boys' home where he was staying at, and take him to practice, feed him. and just take care of them. And, Mac Irvin and Nick and all those guys, they took care of all of us. So
Yeah.
we still one big fraternity. We still got love for each other.
Absolutely. That's the beauty about Chicago basketball. Everybody's connected. Everybody's tied into it. Nick, everybody. And that's the love. It's like you made sure you took care of yours. You
For
saw
sure.
somebody who had potential and you made sure that they were taken care of, whether it's food, a house, just that brotherhood that you always needed. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's pure about the game that we obviously fell in love with.
Yep.
Yeah. So something you just hit on there, which I was just talking to AJ Guyton about this. We had him on one of the episodes. He talked about him being at Nike camp, All American, some of the guys who he was able to play with. You was able to go on the other side to the Adidas camp.
Yeah.
What was that? Adidas, Adidas Big Time and all of them tournaments, all of that stuff. But tell me about Adidas All American camp. Tell me what that experience was like.
Man, it was amazing, bro. When I was there, was guys like Drew Gooden, obviously Leon. Jason Capono, like the list goes on and on. DeMar Johnson was there. He was the number one player in the nation at the time. But man, it's just great just being around all your peers like that and everybody on the same level and everybody, pretty much from the same walks of life. And you seeing other 7-footers that you can do the same thing you can do. I remember seeing Drew Gooden for the first time. I'm like, man, who was this light-skinned dude with all this good hair and shit, grabbing all the rebounds?
Right.
You know what I mean? But he had a motor. You know what I'm saying? He played the same high school that he played, in the league. And then, so we should just battle, man, and go at it. Like we all heard about each other from, different magazine outlets or rankings or whatever, or AAU. But now it's up close and personal. So we all get to play against each other in front of a bunch of scouts. So I ended up making an all-star game there. And, man, just really, really putting myself on the map. I left there probably top 5 big men in the nation, top 2 in the nation. So overall in the nation. So, it was obviously big for me, getting out there, being seen by everybody, displaying my talents on a more national level. But man, that's just, it come with hard work, bro. And I think Nick Irvin and all those guys, Mac Irvin Fire, they really helped me get noticed like that. Shout out to my guy Stevie. Stevie helped a lot too. He is, Steve Brown. And yeah. And man, it was just like I said, just a big family. Got all the guys out there to be seen, and shit, we made the most of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you obviously built that name up, right? You got the recognition to kind of help catapult you and position you as, like you said, top 5 in the nation. That ain't no easy feat. So you obviously were putting in the work to do it. Where do your work ethic come from to like really help you develop those skill sets? Like what was kind of like you said, you had early on, you had, Coach Head had y'all in the gauntlets, push-ups, get the physical, the mental, kind of making you as tough as possible, and then you kind of graduate a little bit more, and you kind of have the Irvins and the Mac Irvin Fire and the team there. Like where did that kind of work ethic come from? What did it kind of look like for you at the time?
Man, I've always been really, really competitive. Really competitive, dating back from my older brothers. Pushing me around because they was the oldest. And, and then that stemmed from, being 7 foot tall, always being one of the tallest guys going up to the park. And then, you got to hear other people like, man, if I was 7 foot, if I was your height, I'd be doing this.
Of course.
So it was just a lot of like, all right, cool, I'm going to show you, So, I just grew up really just playing with grown men, at the park or at different men's leagues. I grew up playing with grown men, being pushed by my brothers. Just developing that competitive attitude that I would need later on. And, that pretty much fueled like kind of my personality and who I was. I was always looking to prove somebody wrong, and it was so many times in my high school career when it was like, oh, okay, Leon better than you or Brian Cook or this guy, whatever. And so I always accepted that challenge. I wanted to go out there and see. Like I couldn't wait to face up with these guys, because I believe in my skills. I knew how athletic I was, how well I handled the ball, how well I could shoot, how well I could move, and it just wasn't many guys doing what I was doing. So, all that stuff, man, it's just repetition, loving the game, playing every day, playing with grown men, playing at the park. We ain't had trainers back then. We ain't have none of that.
Man,
It was just
everybody got a trainer these days, right?
right, right. It was just straight reps, man, and being just like super, super competitive, and that started to drive. Yeah.
Got you. So clearly, all the work ethic, all of those things. McDonald's All American. Did they come knocking on your door? Were you a burger boy as well?
Man, they did, man. But honestly, a lot of people may remember this, but my senior year, I got suspended by the IHSA. Well, not suspended, but declared ineligible for a transfer rule because my junior year I went to Mount Zion Christian Academy, and then when I came back, I was deemed eligible because it was an out of state, thing. I went from North Carolina back to Illinois, and a month in the season, we had just came off a huge win against Thornridge. We was undefeated. About a month or two into the season, I got a phone call from the coach that, hey, we need to meet you in the office. That morning I went before class. I went into the principal's office and they basically tell me that I'm going to be ineligible for the next 2 months. And man, that crushed me, man. And I think
absolutely.
Yeah, that crushed me. So that took my senior year. That took me out of the Proviso West Christmas tournament, and also it kind of affected the way that the McDonald's game looked at me as well. Because I only played half my senior year. So yeah, man, that happened. But again, man, I had a lot of support through it. When I got back, I ended up having a great season. I had guaranteed a state championship before St. Joe's got lucky and beat us. Shout out to Brandon Watkins. But yeah,
Brandon Watkins got. Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's wild, man. But obviously you were resilient through that whole process, though. So
yeah, it had to be, man. I would say the most stressful times in my life was definitely high school, bro. Like transferring from Proviso East to Mount Zion Christian Academy my junior year, and then deciding like that's not really the life I want to live or the folks I want to be around down there. Then coming back to Proviso East to start playing and to be declared ineligible, then come back and then trying to get ready for college. So that was really a battle test back then, and fortunately things worked out the way they did.
Yeah, we all go through something, right?
Yep.
But that's beautiful that you got to see it through to the other side of it. So Tell me this. Obviously, you got all the recognition. You're going through what you're dealing with, on and off the court at that point in time. But you still got to make a decision about where you're going to school. So who was in your top 5 when you were figuring out what college looked like?
So my top 5 was Kentucky, Michigan, UNLV, Fresno State. I had a top 6. Louisville, and then DePaul.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So the number 1 was Louisville. Like they used to always call my parents. My parents wanted me to go to Louisville, and I was.
With Patino, I'm assuming it was down there.
No, Patino wasn't down there. This was Danny Crum. I think that's his name.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, this is back in the day. So I'm dating myself a little bit. And so so they recruited me since my junior year really heavy. So we had them. Then I took a visit to Michigan. Michigan, it came off to me more as a football school. It was just big as hell. It was just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be here. It's too cold. UNLV. Now that was interesting.
I'm about to say it. Las Vegas, Running Rebels, Larry Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Sean Marion ended up being my host on my visit. The coach, he picked me up from the airport. May or may not handed me some funds. Some gambling money.
Yeah. Yep.
They hooked me up with an R&B singer. Man, they laid out the red carpet.
Wow.
So I told my mom and dad basically like, man, I think I want to sign with UNLV because I just had to find this visit. You know what I mean? And it was just great weather. It was Vegas. But she was like, okay, but just make DePaul your last visit. Just go ahead and visit DePaul. And so once I made DePaul my last visit, man, I'll never forget. I walked in on Midnight Madness, or so it was around Halloween. They call it Midnight Madness. It was like a tip off to the season. And I walk in the locker room and I see Q and Bobby and Lance in there, listening to music before the game, just vibing. And then they showed me a lot of love. All three of them hosted me on my visit there. We went out to dinner, and I just got a chance to see the great things that they were doing. You know what I'm saying? Being from Chicago, almost like in high school there, like a Chicago All-Star team. So that was just something that I couldn't refuse. And then our national schedule was crazy. We played Duke at Duke that season. We had Florida at the United Center. At the time, Florida had Mike Miller. So it was just a combination of being able to stay at the crib, play a great schedule, and then play with all my guys from Chicago. So all my last visit.
Made DePaul, and that's when you want to say, "Hey, I'm signing on the dotted line with him, huh?"
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, it's always great to just see, your guys, the people from the crib, everybody, because that don't happen anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like all the in-state guys from Illinois end up leaving out of high school. I'm going here, and it's like I remember when Jimmy Collins was the guy. For a while he would keep everybody in the city. You know what I'm saying? And Dildy would keep everybody in the city, and you know what I'm saying? Like to try their best because we just had such a love and knack for the game, man. We just had dogs out the city.
Yeah, I think that's one of the mistakes that DePaul did was not hiring T. Dildy as their head coach after Pat Kennedy left. Because T. Dildy got me there, he got Q there, Bobby there. T. Dildy was our guy, and I was very shocked to see that he didn't get that head job. When Pat Kennedy got fired. But I keep saying, I sit on some boards at DePaul, and I keep telling them that, look, the folks at DePaul, they need to identify with the coaches there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they keep getting all these out-of-state coaches at DePaul. You got to get a Mark Aguirre in there. You got to get a Bobby Simmons in there. Somebody that, the Chicago folks can resonate with. And, we need to get back to making DePaul an extension of Chicago. And I think that's how we can get more kids to stay home.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that, I talked to Paris Parham. He over there, he's doing what he can his best, but I think that he's trying his hardest to keep people, connected. But I do agree. I think that not only just DePaul, there's many of the schools like Northwesterns and the UICs and even Illinois, just you got to have a connect to the city in order to make sure you're keeping people at home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You had Tim Anderson down there in Illinois. That's no longer, but that's just what it is. And I think that, like you said, with DePaul, I think that you're gonna thrive in that space if you can go ahead and stay connected to the city.
Yeah, you
So tell me, obviously you sign on the dotted line, you go to DePaul. Tell me what that experience, because you didn't spend the whole 4 years there. You only got 2 of them, and Q left after what? I think maybe one of those. So tell me what that was like playing with Q and Bobby and Lance, and what that experience was like just being at home in that schedule.
Shit, it was great, man. I mean, practices were crazy. Like, I wish we could have cameras in practices, because the same time I went, that's when Paul McPherson went. So in practice, you got me going up against Lance, you got Paul going up against Q, you got Allende Avery going up against Bobby. Like, it was just always super, super competitive. And this come back to everything. Like, we only get to play against each other a few times during the high school season, but now we seeing each other every day. And, me coming from Maywood, I remember one practice, I walk in and there was like, Paul was like, oh, shit, we played in the Red West. Steve, you played in the Sicker East. I'm like, man, first of all, I played in the West Suburban Gold. I ain't playing in no damn Sicker East. So I had to prove to them, like, what I'm saying, I wasn't no soft suburban kid going on. What I'm saying? It was like, I got that toughness and talent too. So it was always something to prove in practice, and that's what really helped us that season, was just our practices was just super competitive.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, ain't nothing wrong with the Sicker Conference. I played in the Sicker West, so being on Joliet, hey, We was one team that nobody want to mess with, and we always, every time we showed up, it didn't matter if it was the city. We used to beat Washington House. We beat Thornwoods. We done beat, all the top team. Provide, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it was. But
What's the
yeah,
name
I
of your
get it. It
school?
was all.
What's
What's
the name?
that?
What school?
Joliet.
Are
I went to
you?
Joliet Township.
And what year was
Yeah,
it?
I was. We graduated in '02, so we was the number one team in the state. My senior year, and then we also had only other people who was compete. We had D and Shannon. They was down there. They was still my class. Yeah, Andre Iguodala. They was in the top team down there
Yeah.
in Peoria. Like we had Melvin Buckley and David
Y'all
Moss.
win
They was
state?
all my class.
Did y'all win state?
We messed around and lost at the buzzer to Thornwood by 2.
Was that Eddie Curry?
That was a year after Ed left.
Yeah, after Eddie. Okay.
Yeah, that was a year after Ed left. But yeah, it was one of those. We at the United Center when games were still being played at the UC.
Yeah.
And yeah, we messed around and lost to Thornwood, but we were supposed to win it all. We used to run through everybody. It didn't matter. All the summer tournaments, all of that stuff. Nah, didn't nobody really want to mess
Yeah,
with us.
tough, bro. That's what happened to us against St. Joe's, winning the whole game. Favorites
Yeah.
go down state, and
Yep.
some kid hit a last second 3-pointer bank shot to beat it. So
Yep.
like
It's
that,
just one of the exactly. That's just how it goes sometimes. But yeah, no. But no, I mean that's the beauty of the game. You had that friendly competition. You guys showing up every day. You guys making each other better. Tell me some of those stories. It was like being on the road with the guys and like how you started to build this this knack and this kind of growth journey that you guys were on.
Well, we all just got to really know each other. We all we would play against each other a few times during the season in high school, but never really rode a bus with each other. Never, been in a hotel room with, what I'm saying, each other. You know what I'm saying, and all that different stuff, like being around each other the whole season. So, no, it was just good getting to know everybody, all the different personalities. Lance was funny as hell. Q was always laughing, goofy. Bobby was a little bit more mature than everybody. He had to grow up fast. He had a child at an early age and had his girl. So we had all these different personalities, with us, and we just found a way to make it fit. Found a way to make it work. We all had NBA dreams coming from Chicago. We all was trying to get to the league, but you know what? We all had fun at DePaul University.
Yeah.
We all had
Yeah.
fun, man. It was probably some of the best times of my life. And then you go to next year, we get Andre Brown, we get Amari, and so now DePaul is rolling in terms of recruiting.
Y'all had a rocking.
Yeah,
Y'all had a rocking.
yeah, we had it rocking. So man, shout out to DePaul, man. Hopefully they get it back together. But I'm telling you, all we need is just some coaches from the city. You know what I'm saying? That can try to keep some of that homegrown talent. So hopefully,
Yeah. They might need you walking back in there a couple of times too, I'm sure.
He's going out there. I'm at AZ. I'll go ahead and consult him from.
Hey man, exactly. Consult a little bit. Just pop in every now and again. That's all they need. Ain't too often they got too many 7-footers walking in there like that.
I can do that. I've been to a couple practices. I work with some of the bigs up there, man. So they still got a great organization. We just gotta keep grinding.
Yeah. So speaking of that, right? You working with some of the bigs yourself. Obviously, being a 7-footer, it's draft time. Tell me what that experience was like for you as you entered that space, knowing that, hey, I'm on the draft board. I'm on everybody's board. Like, what was that experience for you and your family?
Man, honestly, man, it took a lot of help. I'll start from the beginning. Like after the last game of the season at DePaul, I ended up checking out of school. Well, I didn't check out of school. DePaul checked me out because they found out I was about to enter the draft. So I go to my dorm room and my key card is blocked. So
Oh wow!
So
that's crazy. They gave you the access denied. You can't get back in the
access
because you put
cool. I was about to leave anyway. I'll come back and get my education. Right now, I'm trying to get to the league. But
yeah.
I ended up leaving school after the last game of the season to sign with an agent and then start working out with Tim Grover. And so that right there, like once I started working out with Tim, that kind of like changed everything. I ended up being introduced to World Wide West, And Wes took me. He took me to a Philadelphia 76ers practice so I can meet Larry Brown. And Wes kind of, did some things where at least I had a bottom line that Philly was going to draft me at 26. So after that, then it was all about just improving my stock. And man, the games we had at Hoops the Gym. I've watched I watched Jamal Crawford interviews when he talked about the games, and I was there when LeBron came in as a 16-year-old. I was there working out with MJ when he was getting ready to come back and play the Wizards.
Come back.
Yeah, like man, from that it was 2000. It was 2000. It was 2001. Yeah, that year it was crazy. We had everybody in the gym. Everybody in the gym.
Like, hold on, start this off because people don't realize, like, you got the runs that happen out of UCLA now, right? Everybody, they got the runs going on out there. You got the runs that's happening in Seattle and all of those things. But like, people don't know, like, when you get off the expressway and you head down Randolph and you about to pull up,
right.
Like the sight start me off right there. Like, that's why I wanted, like, because you seeing any and every car it's like a car show.
Shit, starting with MJ. MJ gonna have a Ferrari out there. So MJ was at the gym every day. And I remember the first time I walked in Hoops the Gym, and he was standing at the front desk, and he was standing, and I could see behind him. And bro, it's like the man had a halo over his head. It was the first time I ever met him in person. He just has a like a godly aura to him. And so I walked up to him. And I remember just saying, like, hey, man, how you doing? Something like that. And he was like, how you doing, young fella? And I started saying something like, man, when I was younger, I used to watch Come Fly With Me, and I watched all your games. And he just shook my hand. He was like, good. I didn't know what to say. I was 10 years old at the time. But anyway, that's the first time I met Mike, bro. And it was crazy to meet him. But yeah, the parking lot was crazy. You got Twan Walker up there with his cars. You got Quentin Richardson, who went to the NBA with his with the previous year. He got his cars up there. D Miles, Mike Finley. It was a car show. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was a car show coming up there. But then, man, we all go get to the gym. We all got our workout times, and then Tim used to pair us up. Sometimes I would be with Mike. Sometimes I would be with Sean Marion. Then you got Corey Maggette. Then you got again Michael Finley, Juwan Howard, Twan Walker. So we do our individual workouts first. We go upstairs, we lift weights. Then after that, it's just open runs for 3-4 hours up there straight. Just great games, man. Yeah. So that's what really got me prepared for the draft, and that's what really boosted my stock. I came into the Chicago pre-draft ready at Moody Bible. I done seen it all. I've been playing with all time.
Playing with pros.
Yeah, for the last 4 or 5 months. So I ended up getting MVP at the Moody Bible pre-draft camp, and that's what boosted my stock. Oh man,
tell me a little bit about, so obviously we talk a little bit about you meeting MJ, and who was all in the gym, the who's who, everybody. I remember even coming up there a couple of times and seeing Joe Johnson up there, and you know what I'm saying, just everybody seemed to be coming to Chicago at that time, hey, we getting all the runs in, we're gonna play the best of the best. But it's somebody you even mentioned in that series of just Juwan. I feel like everybody mentions Juwan. Juwan seemed to be like the OG of just hey, I'm gonna really help y'all and really move y'all and get y'all ready to go and acclimated to what it really is and what it means to be a true pro.
Man, Juwan is an incredible human being, bro. I played with him in Orlando, and I wouldn't have stayed in the league as long as I did without Juwan. He taught me how to be a professional. He told me back then, he was like, young fella, I don't care how these other guys dress. They want to wear these baggy clothes, sagging, whatever. Make sure you wear a suit to every game. I end up wearing a suit to every game. Just keeping a professionalism about myself, because Juwan was one of them guys, he was a good player, but his professionalism, his work ethic made him that $100 million contract, made him who he is. You know what I mean? So, Juwan is just a pro of all pros, man. And huge shout out to Juwan Howard, man. Naturally,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So like you said, you have been playing with pros all summer. So, of course, you get the pre-draft camp over there at Moody Bible, which is right up the street, you know what I'm saying? And that comes around. What was that experience like for you? Like, who was in the gym with you when you were playing, and did you kind of had on your hit list, if you will, was like, yeah, I'm about to give you everything you deserve?
Man, I don't know where to start, man. Just, yeah, I don't even know where to start. Everybody, because everybody want to play with MJ. So again, this was the time MJ was about to come back to make his comeback to play for the Wizards. So MJ had everybody through the gym, and I mean everybody. So I don't even know where to start. You got young guys getting ready for the draft, and you got MJ getting ready for the season. So that 2001 summer was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Everybody's just in the city, just
Yeah.
getting after it.
So yeah, I mean, at that point, you playing against somebody. It prepared me for the NBA early because you playing against somebody every single day. So I tell kids today, like, don't worry about who you playing against. Don't even look down there. Don't worry about the competition you playing against. All right, just worry about yourself and the things you can control because they got to play against you too. So it wasn't no time to be scared. It wasn't no time for fear. It wasn't no time for none of that. It was just grow up right then and there and have confidence. And that's it. Yep.
Draft night comes. Did you end up going to New York, or did you stick around at the crib?
No, we rented out the ESPN zone downtown. And
Yep.
man, that was one of the most stressful days of my life that turned into one of the most relieving days. I was just glad it was over. I went to 16 different workouts, private workouts. So I flew all around the league, worked out for half the NBA. Just the training I had done since April. Every single day, just coming to fruition. So, I'll just walk you through this. So I had a great workout for the Detroit Pistons and Joe Dumars. They picked number 9. And so Joe told me before I left, he was like, "Don't be surprised if we draft you number 9." I was like, "All right, perfect." Then I worked out, had a really good workout for the Houston Rockets. They drafted number 12, I believe, or number 13. I think it was number 12 or number 13. And then Orlando brought me in for maybe 4 workouts, and I had worked out for Orlando the day before the draft. So I just flew back from Orlando. They took a real close look. So draft night comes. I get to the draft around the 6th pick because I ain't want to be waiting around. So number 9 comes up, and Detroit Pistons. I'm thinking they're gonna call my name. They called out Rodney White.
Rodney White
went to UNC Charlotte. He was a great college player. Shout out to Rodney.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, cool. I was like, all right, I know I'm going to Houston, right? At number 12. I know I'm going to Houston. Houston ended up drafting Radmanovich. All right, his name is Vladimir Radmanovich.
Vladimir, yep.
Yeah, so those are my best case scenario too. So 15 come up. I'm like, shit. If Orlando don't draft me, it's gonna be a long night, man. I'm gonna be a Rashad Lewis.
I don't know where I'm going. Yeah.
All night. So Orlando called. Orlando, David Stern came up there and he said with the 15th pick, the Orlando Magic select Stephen Hunter, and man, I was just sense of relief. Yeah. Had all my family there. Got up on the podium, said a little speech. After I got off the podium, I talked to Doc Rivers. He was like, "Welcome to the Magic. We'll see you tomorrow." And I just thanked him. He come from my high school, come from Proviso East too. I just thanked him for drafting me and giving me a chance. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And it was up.
No, that's super. I mean, think about that story. Like, you grew up, all of those, playing at Proviso, playing in the city in Chicago, and then not only do you get drafted by Orlando, who has a head coach, Doc Rivers, but the person who you played with and hoop with all summer long is down there with Juwan.
Yep.
And that's your first year. Like, that's almost like the storybook ending to one chapter, but like, all right, this is the next. Flip the page, and it even gets better. Mm-hmm. One of them type of moments.
Yeah, man, for sure. I got a chance to play with a great player in T-Mac too.
I'm
And
about to say, like,
yeah,
yeah, let's get into that. Like, now you starting your pro career. Like, mind you played for several different teams, but your first year, you playing with T-Mac,
Grant
Grant
Hill.
Hill,
Yep.
and several others. Like, you play with just stars.
Yeah, it was a learning experience, man. I get there and the first day of training camp, and I'll talk about the stars in a minute, but the first day of training camp, you got seasoned vets, like big men vets on my team, like Andrew DeClerc, Don Reed, Patrick Ewing was on my team.
Patrick Ewing, yeah.
Yeah, Bo Outlaw. So all these guys in their late 30s at the time, mid to late 30s. I'm 19. I'm like, and so, but the thing I notice is, like, they moving up and down the floor like they life dependent on it. I go back home, I'm like, I ain't never seen a 35-year-old run like this, man, and go hard. So, like, the transition to the NBA is just the speed and the physicality that I had to figure out right away in training camp. Because back then, in 2001, the game was a lot more physical.
Oh yeah.
We still had real big men that was going through the
when bigs were bigs.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just a different experience. It was just a different experience, and but it was a great experience. And then again, playing with Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill, two great professionals, man. T-Mac was just amazing. He would have 20, 22, 23 points in the first quarter, come out, won't even be sweating. And then one time I asked him, I sat down, he sat next to me, I was like, bro, I was like, man, bro, how you do that? And he just looked at me, he was like, they can't check me. He was like, they just can't check me.
He just had that confidence.
Yeah.
There was another level of confidence that he had.
Yeah, he said a real calm, like, they just can't check me. And he knew it, so he figured it out. Like, there's nothing they can do. So, man, it was good times, bro. A lot of fun.
Man. Absolutely. I mean, you down in Orlando, it's nothing but just great weather. I know y'all had a ball down there.
We had a ball, a little bit too much fun.
I bet. No, something you spoke on, like, that's when bigs were bigs. Like, and I'm gonna go back a little bit because when you look at the draft class that you came through, it was like you came through with nothing but like real bigs, and then you had like some icons at the guards as well. Like when you think about it, you had. I look at my list, it's like you had Kwame Brown, Tyson Chandler, you had Paul Gasol, Ed Curry, right? And then you get down, to the wings, then you got like the Jason Richardson from Michigan State. You had like your draft class, Shane Battiers, and then, you get drafted, and then, down the road, you're like, oh, there's Tony Parker and Gilbert Arenas down here and Joe Johnson in there. It's like your draft class, you had some dogs in there.
Zach Randolph, don't forget about Zebo.
Yeah, Zach. Yeah, like y'all had some dogs in there.
All the songs in there too.
Man.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see that. So, I mean, knowing that.
That 2001 NBA draft class, because, mainly because of Kwame, but, man, we had some players. We had some players there.
Absolutely. So you spent that early part of your career, you spent it out there in Orlando. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you evolve. Obviously, there's trades that happen, there's movement that happen. That's just the way of the business. Was that at all a shock at all for you as you trying to figure out, navigate, like, oh, I'm about to be traded, or this contract ended? Like, was that understanding the business? Because now you balancing a little bit of both between your agent and, partners that way.
No, man, you know what? I ended up playing out my rookie deal in Orlando, but unfortunately, after my rookie season, I had my first knee surgery that I wish I would have never got. They found a slightly torn meniscus in my left knee. It wasn't even bothering me. This was just our postseason examinations, and so they was like, "All right, we're gonna fix it for you. You'll just be out 2 weeks." Blah blah blah. I was like, "All right, cool." So I had this procedure, and lo and behold, these people cut my whole meniscus off. I guess they didn't think you needed it back then. But I went from a slightly torn meniscus that didn't bother me to them cutting my whole meniscus off. And so now it's summer league, and I'm trying to play on this knee that still bothers me. I'm telling the trainer, man, something don't feel right. Like I feel like a piece of glass in between my knees. Something don't feel right. And he's just like, show the coaches you're tough. You're our first round pick. Show the coaches you're tough. So I'm on the floor in summer league, literally limping down the floor. And so I'll never forget, I go up to, because I'm favoring one leg, I go up to catch a pass, and that's like behind me. And when I land, I'm trying to favor the leg, so I put all my weight on my right knee. I come down and hyperextended, end up getting a torn ACL on my right knee. So this is after my rookie year that was decent, trending upward. Now I'm having 2 knee surgeries in a span of, 2 or 3 months. So that kind of set me back for my second and third year in Orlando. Because I ended up, coming back until maybe March of the next year. And then, my third year, we were, things were just bad. They ended up trading T-Mac. We started a rebuild. They fired Doc. And so, we ended up, I think, having the worst record in the league. And so after 3 years, I'm sitting there thinking like, damn, am I even, what's going to happen? What's next? And then that's when the Phoenix Suns took a chance on me. And so I got there, and they signed Steve Nash, they signed Quentin Richardson, Joe Johnson, we had Amari, Sean Marion, and we ended up starting the first season of 7 seconds or less. And
that Dan Tony.
Ended up having the best record in the league that season. Everybody had a great year. And then I was able to parlay that into a 5-year contract with the 76ers.
With the 76ers, yeah. That had to be some, just dope. Just you getting a phone call, hey, we're going to bring you out there to Phoenix, and you got your people out there. You got Q out there. Like you said, Joe was in your draft class. Yeah. You had Sean from the crib who was there. You know what I mean? Like, what was that? Y'all playing 7 seconds or less, getting the ball up. Y'all putting up 120 points a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that experience like?
Lovely. I mean, in training camp, Mike D'Antoni just didn't put in any plays. He just showed us how to play. You know what I mean? He showed us that we wanted to play fast. He was like, if somebody scored, it don't matter. Take the ball out in under a second. Get the ball up the court. We want to get as many possessions as possible. We want to shoot as many threes as possible. We want to get up and down. And so we were kind of ahead of our time, man. We were the Golden State Warriors before the Golden State Warriors. We shot threes, and teams weren't ready for that. They weren't used to that. And I think at one point we were maybe 35-4 or something crazy like that. Like we just took the lead by put everybody on notice. Yeah. So yeah, that was fun, bro.
Yeah, that was a fun time. Jersey started to switch up. Y'all, everybody getting swaggy out there. It was different. It was definitely a time for sure.
Yeah,
I remember them days for sure. So, like you said, not only do you go out there, you're playing with Joe, you're playing with Q, but then you end up parlaying that to that 5-year deal out there in Philly. Tell me about Philly, because clearly you had already, obviously West, having that connection with Worldwide West, Philly, all of that, but you playing with AI, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had Andre Iguodala on the team. Who else did you have on there? Like, you had some dogs, and everybody could play.
Yeah, it was just a different style in play. And it definitely ain't the city of brotherly love, I'll tell you that, man. I remember I missed a free throw in the first quarter. They started booing like a motherfucker. I'm like,
man. They showed you touchdown. That's what that was.
Yeah, bro. Man, it definitely wasn't Phoenix, you know what I'm saying, in terms of just living out there. It's dark and gloomy all the time. We get dark at about 2:00. You know what I'm saying? It's cold all the time. But and then you go from playing with a Steve Nash to just distribute the ball to playing with Allen Iverson, who, he gonna shoot 30, 35 times.
Shots up.
So I appreciated the contract, but I was like, damn, I was calling my agent every day, like, bro, get me back to Phoenix. I really was. I was calling.
You fell in love with that.
Yeah, get me back. But that's the nature of the NBA, man. Sometimes you do things for financial reasons, and it doesn't fit you basketball wise,
Yep.
But that first year was cool. That second year, I actually started to get used to Philly. They traded Allen Iverson, and we ended up getting Andre Miller. And Andre Miller was more of a Steve Nash type, distributor the ball. We started having fun, and it was a good time. Me and Drake still talk to this day. We got a lot of good stuff about being in Philly. And Mo Cheeks was our coach.
Yep.
He was funny. He still thought he was a player, so he would be talking shit to all the players and stuff like that, man.
People got like this good bad relationship with Mo Cheeks. Like they love you, either love him or you hate him. It seems like.
Mo Cheeks is Mo Cheeks, man. He funny. He tried to. I think the problem with Mo is, he tried to fit in with the players and not, had a dominant coach aura about him. You know what I'm saying? So, Mo's a great player, man. We had some good times, but Mo had some issues over there. With some people.
I got you.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is. Exactly. It is what it is. Life goes on. So then, so you going ahead, you're in Philly those 5 years. Obviously, you starting to, you got a feel for the league. You're playing with some different players. Obviously, Dikembe, Patrick Ewing, some greats, all of those good things. What was kind of that next stage for you as the journey? Because you spent you was like 12 years in the league, right?
Yeah, something like that. Sorry, my camera.
No, you good. Yeah. No, being there like 10, 12, 13 years in the league, when it started to kind of come to the end, what did that experience look like for you?
Man, you know what, Bob? When the end came, I was pretty much bone on bone in both my knees. And most people don't know, I had medical retirement. I signed a 2-year deal with Houston, but before you're able to accept the contract, you have to take the physical. And if you pass it, then, obviously you play. If you fail it, then they can renege the contract. So, obviously, I didn't pass that physical. It was like, Steve, you can't play on these knees. Because at that time, I was bone in both of them. I was taking, like, all type of painkillers just to practice. And so basically, that's when I decided, all right, it's time to look for that next phase. You know what I'm saying? Because I still want to play, but, man, I got to be able to walk after I'm done, too. You know what I mean? I got to be able to run around with my kids and stuff like that. So something that's going on with Joel Embiid in terms of his knee, like I can see it from a mile away. It happened to Joel Embiid, happened to Brandon Roy, all these guys with these.
Greg Oden.
Yeah, Greg Oden with these knee injuries. And you're like, damn, what is it? It's not a torn ACL. It's not a microfracture. What is it? It's because they cartilage gone in their knee. And when you get a knee like that, it basically ages your knee fast. So you 28, 29 years old playing on a 70-year-old knee, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Like they're going to try to give you shots. They're going to try to give you scopes for surgeries. They're going to make you rest. They're going to give you this and that. Nothing is going to replace that.
Nothing will help.
Nothing's going to replace that cartilage. Now, it may replace it for him to be able to walk around and live a normal life. But if you're trying to play in an NBA game, off of like an injection shot, that's not gonna last long. So, I'm wishing the best for Joel Embiid, but it's looked like, it's going down that same road as like myself and Brandon Roy in terms of like his knee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you spot on. So obviously you starting to figure out your second half, right? You starting to enter in that space. Okay, hold on, the dog is going crazy real quick. But no, so you start to enter into your second half. You're trying to figure it out. Like, did you have a plan to start kind of mapping that out, knowing that, okay, bone on bone, here with your knee?
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
Well, I knew I wanted to live in Arizona. So
you did that.
First thing I did was I moved to AZ, bought a house, a retirement house, and just maybe took 2 or 3 years off, man. Just picked up a game of golf. Just, had some freedom, to do what I want to do. Just chill and relax, not having to take painkillers every day, not having to have the stress of waking up like, man, I hope my knee is feeling better today. You know what I'm saying? So I just took a couple of years off. I just took a couple of years off. And then, eventually I wanted to get back into something that, I enjoy doing. I tried a couple of different things. I was like, all right, maybe I'll do real estate, maybe I'll do broadcasting. But nothing gave me the joy that helping kids gave me. And so that's when I started putting on basketball camps, and then I started the Stephen Hunter Basketball Academy. Later on, ended up starting Hunter's Elite Club Basketball. And, since 2014, that's been my main passion. And we built it up to one of the top programs in the state of Arizona. So I'm really, really blessed and thankful for that.
Man, that's awesome. Like I love when your passions of the game have turned into service and to helping instill kind of the joy and the love of the game of what you also had when you were playing, and now you're passing it on to the next gen of what that looks like and what the future of basketball looks like. So that's awesome, man.
For sure, man. Thank you.
So what do you having this travel or club team? Do you have them playing in a different type of circuit or anything like that? You know, like you had the Adidas or you had the Nikes or anything like that. Are you playing under any one of those circuits, or are you kind of doing it on your own?
Yeah, we play in different circuits. We play on the Made Hoop circuit, the New Balance circuit. But at this point, for a lot of my teams, they go from third grade all the way up to varsity. But especially between third grade and eighth grade, it's all about development. Ain't no college coaches looking at 7th and 8th graders right now. They're barely looking at seniors in high school because of the transfer portal. So
absolutely, that changed everything.
Yeah, so we put a special emphasis on training, skill work, playing here locally. And then every now and then we'll pop out of state and do some different things for like team bonding or just to play against some other competition from other areas. But, the AAU circuit has become so monetized now, man, and everybody's putting on a tournament. Everybody's starting a quote-unquote circuit. So you just really got to be selective and smart in what you invest your money to go and play on, because it's just so monetized. And so, So, man, again, like I really developed, I coached 3 teams. I developed keeping my hands on the kids, and being out there every step of the way gives me something to do. Like pouring into them, really fills me up, in life. So, man, I just found a happy place, bro, just coaching basketball and being around my family, being able to take my kids to school every day and help my son guide him through his journey through college, his basketball journey as well. So it's been great, bro. It's been really a blessing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: what's one experience that you had that is just your most memorable experience, whether it's playing in the league or playing in college or even from your pre? I love both instances. Like, what's been your best experience playing, but then also what's your best experience that you've had as far as coaching and developing?
Well, I would say, basketball-wise, just that whole 2004-2005 year with the Phoenix Suns was just a dream. It was a dream come true. It was just a great year. It was a fun year on all levels. So that was probably my best basketball memory. But honestly, to be honest with you, bro, playing in the league is a dream in its own. Like, it's something you work towards your whole life, and when it finally happens, you just cherish it. You know what I mean? And you're lucky you wake up in the morning and go to practice, and you home by 1 o'clock. Telling your chef what to cook you, or playing video games, or doing whatever you want to do. Having all the resources to do it. So playing in the league is definitely fun. Then you get back to the purity of basketball when I was at DePaul University. You go back to the purity of it when the coaches knew my parents, and I'm hanging out with Q and Bobby and Lance and all the guys that that I played against in high school, and all that stuff. So that my whole basketball journey has been just a wonderful experience. So, but outside of basketball, really just I would say, not only being around my kids, but being around my Hunters Elite family, in terms of teaching them and being around them, and, having kids tell me, like, or having parents tell me that, their kids' confidence is way higher than it was now than when they first got here. That really helps. That really makes me feel good that, not because I know everyone's not going to go to the NBA that comes through my program, but if we can help them become, a better person, instill them with more confidence, and, just basically give them a joyful experience, that's definitely worth it. So, between my program and just playing in the league, period, those have been my best times in life.
I got you. I love that.
So,
let me ask you this. We all have mentors, in the league. A lot of you guys have vets, Like, do you have those mentors that are still kind of around and kind of helping you continue on in your journey to keep you on like the straight and narrow in a way? You need those vets to just kind of check you every now and again, let you know that you're doing things right, or are you kind of like solo doing it yourself out there in Phoenix?
Man, you know what? I used to have those mentors, but I may not look it. I'm 43 now, so I done became a mentor. You know
You
what I
become a mentor
mean?
now, huh?
Yeah, it's like you get to your early 40s and you like, damn, I'm young to older people, but I'm old to younger people.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So
I know you became Unc.
yeah, right, right. You know what I'm
It
saying?
comes quick, man.
Yeah, OG, all this.
Uh,
So yeah, man, I've been doing a lot of mentoring. Like, I run my own company, so a lot of people look to me for advice, and they look to me
yeah,
for guidance and direction and things like that. And I'm like, it's a new position for me,
yeah,
for the last couple of years, but I'm enjoying it, man. I think after you turn 41, 42 years old, you kind of get some knowledge, some knowledge that you kind of accumulate, and you're able to mentor others and give back to others like folks used to do to you. And so, yeah, I've been mentoring folks for the last couple of years. But who keeps me, centered? Obviously my faith in Christ, and my mom and dad is still around. They moved here to Arizona, so anytime I need a
nice.
home cooked meal, I'll go right around the corner to mom and dad house.
There you go.
And my
There you
sister
go.
out here, so we kind of just moved Chicago out here. So they
There you go.
moved around it.
Yep. No, that's awesome. I mean, that's beautiful. Like you see, you started off the conversation like you were surrounded by your brothers and family, and just kind of helping instill you with the values. And now, even in this chapter of your life that you thriving in, you got still had that kind of circle around you, kind of doing that.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let
sir.
me ask you one more thing before we get up out of here. I know you spent some time, even post career, even still connected to the NBA, where kind of you became an ambassador. Tell me a little bit about that kind of experience for you, and what were kind of your duties, if you will, with that ambassadorship.
Yeah, so the NBA has reached out several times, well, a bunch of times over the years, for me to either speak at the rookie transition program about financial literacy or different appearances, and so that's been a great thing about the NBA, the NBA Players Association, still giving alumni opportunities, opportunities to affect the youth and the folks coming up behind them. So I still do those appearances. You'll see me out, who knows, throughout the year.
Yep.
From 2013 to 2020, I served as the community ambassador for the Phoenix Suns. So that was a pretty cool position where you were able to get out in the community and hold babies and sign autographs and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
get out there and do some things for the team and that concept. But no, man, it's been a really good relationship. And like I say to a lot of kids and a lot of younger players, like, make sure you establish relationships while you're in the league, because when you get out, you're going to need those relationships to stay relevant or maybe find work or maybe find different opportunity and resources, So I think I've done a pretty good job of, developing those relationships and, keeping those relationships with the NBA and different teams I played on, to have those type of opportunities. So it's
Man,
been good. Yeah.
that's it. And I love that, man. Well, look, one, I appreciate you jumping on the second half podcast. Where can people kind of stay in tune with you and follow your journey with Hunters Elite and what you got going on?
Yeah, you can just follow my IG at Stephen Hunter Elite, or my private or my public IG page. I believe it's just type in my name, Stephen Hunter. I think it's S_DOT45. Yeah, man, I'm just living a normal life, bro. I'm enjoying it. Got a lot of good memories, a lot of good stories. Glad to get on this podcast. I love to see what you're
Yeah.
doing, man. I gotta do it again. And
Yes, yes, absolutely. We're gonna make sure you get set up, get all the toys and bells and whistles, get you going with that, man, because I think it's important for those who are coming up, one, to hear that, hey, I can do this beyond just the game. There's opportunities after, and some people I know that they have trouble with figuring out what's that why, what's next, because that it's a daunting question when you got to say, all right, basketball is over, football is over with, like
right,
now what? And so by sharing your story and your journey and showing that there are opportunities after the game is so important, and it's just about growth and it's about life and having that faith and showing it, hey, that's what I can do next.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Hopefully, a lot of the retired guys can find their passion or get into coaching or do some things that they really enjoy doing. Take care of their finances and things like that. So, man, coming from where I come from, I'm just really blessed and thankful to, have, made some good decisions. I made some bad decisions, but I also made some good decisions. And it's all part of the learning curve and the learning process. So, I'm just blessed and thankful to be doing what I'm doing in terms of with kids and with my AAU program and the basketball academy and all that great stuff. Leaving a mark behind, leaving a legacy. So just really proud of the work that I've done, not only on the court but off the court. So, I hope to keep doing it as long as I can.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I love it. Again, Stephen Hunter, 45. Appreciate you being on the podcast, man. Thank you for all those. Be sure to hit that like, follow, subscribe. Definitely go ahead over to his social media page. Go ahead and give him a like and follow over there. We out. Second half. Peace.
Peace out. Thanks.